For years, we've been waiting for this. And the moment's finally here. But will this camera live up to the hype? Will it have open gates, more resolution, a bigger monitor, more dynamic range, internal RAW, triple base ISO, higher frame rates? Will the name even be FX3 Mark II? You're about to find out. This is the brand new Sony FX5, and it's finally here. Without a doubt, the most requested camera of the last 2 years. Everybody's been talking about it. It's finally here. So let's dive into it. The new FX5 is built on top of the ergonomics of the very popular FX3, but with an incredible upgrade under the hood. In this video, I want to go over the specs, what you can expect shooting with this camera, some quirks, and of course, for who this camera is for. While recording this video, my girl gave birth to her first child, little Nola here. Because of this, I couldn't use the camera as much as I would like to. So I couldn't film a short doc or like a proper video that I normally do. But luckily my friend Zilver did, and he shot a really cool video of Worthy, who was an Olympic basketball player from Holland. So go check that out if you want to see what this camera is capable of. And if you want the details and the facts and some techie stuff, go watch this one. Enjoy. You want to say something to the world? That's what I thought. The sensor is a 16.6 megapixel 5K sensor, and it's a stack sensor. What that means in practice is it reads out your pixels way faster. Okay, so this is a very unscientific rolling shutter test. I think the overall results are great because they look kind of similar to the FX3, but you have to keep in mind that the FX5 is shooting this at open gate 5K 16-bit RAW, and also at higher frame rates. It's really good. It shoots internal RAW in 3 codecs under the X-OCN name. If you're not familiar with X-OCN, that's not strange because it's only available for the high-end cinema cameras such as the Venice 1, Venice 2 and the Burano. In the FX5, you got X-OCN LT, C1 and C2 compression for 16-bit RAW, with C2 being the higher compression options. This camera comes with triple base ISO. Now the big issue with the FX3 and the FX6 was that it has 2 base ISOs, 800 and 12,800, and usually the gap between those two was a little bit too big. Most of the times when you switched to 12,800, you noticed that you had to put NDs on your lens in order to expose correctly. So this triple base ISO solves this issue with 3 bases at 800, 4,000 and 12,800. Next, we got 16 stops of dynamic range, which is absolutely crazy. Now, I don't own the right equipment to properly test this, so we have to take Sony's word for it. You're also getting 5K 120p in open gate and 4K 240p in 16:9. All this is running through the new Bion Z, so the Bion's XR2 processor. Now, mind you, this is really important. 5K 120 and a 4K 240 and some other specs, they will come out through a firmware update, version 2, which comes later this year or maybe next year. Now the big question, what changed between the FX3 and the FX5? The ergonomics are refined, I'd say. There's a new monitor with a 4-axis swivel screen, which is actually beyond expectation. Many of you know that I've been shooting on Sony for a long time and I really do love their camera systems, but the monitors they ship with their cameras usually are just not good. Let's say not good. To see a monitor on this camera that has so many improvements is like, thank you Sony for this. You finally can operate the entire camera and the entire menu from the touch of your finger, which is great. Low light autofocus is also noticeably better. There's a new battery, which is expected because the processor is way heavier. And then there is the EVF. Now, let me get it. We've been teased with this EVF when the FX2 launched. Of course, that one wasn't removable, but this one is. I personally really enjoy shooting with an EVF because you have an extra point of contact. So that makes sure that it's more stable when you're shooting. Of course, it's more difficult to shoot with an EVF like this if you'll do a lot of dynamic walking shots or moving shots, but then you can always simply flip the screen up like, can you see it? Yeah, flip the screen up like this, or this, or this. There's infinite options with this new monitor now, so that's good. Now, the top panel and audio unit also got a boost. You've now got 32-bit float internal audio through the top panel. On the connectivity side, you have 4K 60 live streaming and Wi-Fi 6. And then the biggest surprise to me is the full-blown Ethernet port on the side. This is probably a really big deal for people that use these cameras for live streaming, because I think that is the fastest way out of your data toward a computer. But yeah, I've never used it before, but if you're a live streamer, let me know in the comments what you think of this feature. Now, we've seen this on the FX2 before, but you now have these two ports, the 3.5mm jack and the headphone jack. They are exposed, so they're not behind a flappy thing. I'm not so sure, I'm not a real big fan of this. Maybe they are waterproof or dust proof, but I just don't think so. Let me put this back. Ooh. Oh, the light is flickering. Sjoerd? That's weird. Okay. Also, the focus engine got a massive boost. Right now, you do have AI subject recognition, and it's extremely good, which matters a lot if you're shooting anything unpredictable, like sports or wildlife, for example. And one feature I really missed on the FX3 is the ability to focus on humans only, not only human priority. And that is also added to the FX5, so I'm a happy man. This all sounds like rainbows and sunshine, of course, but there is quirks, of course. Any new camera that comes to the market has some quirks. And luckily for us, almost all of these are possible to be fixed with a firmware update. Okay, so the main thing that I don't like is the fact that you don't have a proper playback system. You still have to navigate through the playback with the buttons. Although you can tap, you can do something, but it just feels a bit odd. The thing is, when there is a client breathing down your neck, you just want to scrub through this clip. And you just want to make sure that you can nail the exact point where something happened, press play, and play it back. Right now, there is no such thing. It's really difficult to navigate through the clips that you shot. So I really hope that this will be changed in a future firmware, because the screen is definitely responsive enough to handle it. The next thing is the top handle is different. So you cannot use your FX3 top handle together with the FX5. It's quite logical to me because it's a totally redesigned system. It handles 32-bit float now, so it didn't really come as a surprise, but keep that in mind when you're buying the camera and you buy the body only, you cannot use your FX3 top handle. Next thing is, there is no stills function in this camera. Now, I don't really miss it because I haven't used the stills function in my FX3 ever, but the thing that strikes me as quite odd is there is still a shutter button on the camera. You can assign this to trigger the camera to record, and you can also assign it to half press or shot mark. But I mean, why don't just make this a main trigger for recording and use this space for another assignable button? And then the last thing, this is something that you just have to get used to. The whole system and the whole menu is taken from the Burano Venice FX6. So it's different from the FX3. If you're doing an upgrade, you'll probably have to get used to it a little bit, but that's just a matter of time. So let's move on to the next topic. So you might ask yourself, who's this camera for? I think it's stating the obvious, because it's a worthy upgrade for everyone shooting an FX3, an FX6. Yeah, it's just newer tech, higher frame rates, internal RAW 16-bit, 3x2 open gate, which is a big deal breaker for a lot of people that shoot a lot of vertical and horizontal video at the same time, as per client request. If you want the full spec sheet with all the specs, please check the description below. And as mentioned in the beginning, go watch Zilver's video and show him some love. And of course, my buddy Raylin, he made a really cool video with his camera as well. So enough to check on this camera. But I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this camera, so please let me know in the comments below. And with that being said, I am going back to changing diapers. Yes, that's my life now. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other next time.